Tax day, Tony. Have you sent in your return?
I'm Tony Kornheiser. No. I had my accountant tell them I died 3 years ago. Yeah.
You know what? I'd hate to spoil it for you, but there's some video evidence that says you're alive and well and earning.
That's AI.
Right here.
AI created. I'm not that person. I am AI generated, even sitting here. And I can be AI because I am AI. You know, Anthony Irwin. I can do that. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Blazers beat the Suns. The Saudi tour is on the ropes, and Jeff Passan joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with last night's Eastern Conference play-in, where Charlotte eliminated Miami in overtime. LaMelo Ball had the winning basket, but back in the Ball reached out and appeared to pull Bam Adebayo by the ankle, causing him to fall in a heap, resulting in an injury that kept Adebayo out for the rest of the game. Afterwards, Heat coach Erik Spoelstra said Ball should have been thrown out of the game. The referee said they could not review the play because no original call had been made. Wilbon, do you agree that Ball should have been ejected?
Yep. There's no question about it. He should have been ejected. You're watching this, and I understand let me just say this. I understand why any one of those officials would have let that play go, because they don't like to stop a fast break for a team
going the other
something
way.
That's incidental.
Yeah.
Right? Ball's going the other way. They're going to get a layup out of this. You don't want to stop the play. And if you just make that decision, which is a reasonable decision for an official to make in real time, you can't go back and review it. So you can't give him what should have been, at minimum, a flagrant one, but more likely to me, because, by the way, this isn't the first time. It's not the first time the Ball has reached out and grabbed even this player, the best player on the Miami Heat, a guy who scored 1 million points in the game this year. So he would have been flagrant 2'd and ejected. And now the league, I guess, is examining what to do, but that doesn't help Miami. Miami's going to win that game. It was a thrilling game. And Charlotte played great, even though Rookie of the Year, Knipple had no points. He had to be benched in overtime. But you gotta throw him out.
People who are waiting for me to disagree with you will find that going to have to keep waiting, because I'm not going to disagree. I had Brian Windhorst on my podcast this morning. And Brian said, I want to check my notes. He said he thought it was a flagrant foul by Ball, and he pointed out, as you just did, that Ball has a history of doing this with this particular guy. In the moment that I saw it, I didn't think there was intent to injure, but maybe I was wrong. As you say, the league is looking at it. What does that do for Miami? Miami is out. There's nothing that can come of this that helps Miami. Erik Spoelstra said, look, we could have won. You know, I mean, he took the high road. Yes, he did. He said we could have won. Yeah. But they didn't win in that game. You're right, it was a thrilling, wonderful game. And here's a really good line from Windhorst. He talked about the fact that it showed the redemptive power of the NBA playoffs, which echoes what you're saying, which you said the other day, that the regular season fell really short. So I tuned into this game because I wanted to see Charlotte throwing it up from all over.
And they did.
Okay, so here are some numbers, though. All right, I wanted to see Ball and Knipple. Right. Knipple is your Rookie of the Year, not my Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year.
Knipple was 2 of 12 and 0 of 6 from 3. And he was benched. He had to be benched late in the game.
Good move by Charles Lee. Gutsy.
Okay, and LaMelo Ball, 2 of 16 from 3, 2 of 16. It. So together, they're 2 of 22 from 3, which is just awful. You know, it's awful. It's terrible. But they won. They won. If they win one more, they're in the real playoffs.
And they're in the real playoffs. Out.
Yeah,
Tony. So that helps enormously. But Ball, what now? So even if, first of all, the league doesn't have the guts to suspend him for the upcoming game against either Philly or Orlando. No. The league doesn't have.
Can I just say this?
Not David Stern's.
No, David Stern would have done it. But let me just say this.
They're not doing it.
If you find that this happened, and if you suspend him for the next game, to me that feels vindictive. It does.
Well, can you suspend him for game 1 if they win of the series and the playoffs?
I think
you wait till next year.
I think it's gone. I think you missed it. Let's move to the Western Conference play-in, where Denny Avdia, let me get that right, scored 41 points, including the winning basket to lead Portland past Phoenix and into the playoffs in the 7th spot. Avdia also had 12 assists and 7 rebounds. This is the same Denny Avdia that the Wizards traded for a bowl of porridge a couple of years ago. Wilbon, this one was way past my bedtime.
Yes.
So what did the Blazers show you, and what does it say about your sons?
Well, it wasn't past my bedtime, and you know, because you got about 1,000 text messages from me this morning. And he's good enough to go by one name now after last night, 41 points, game winner. It's just Denny. I'm not going to get into Avdia, even though I'm finally pronouncing it correctly. The Bulls could have drafted him, but decided to take Patrick Williams. That's even stupider. No, maybe not. Then the Wizards getting rid of a young, star in the making. And this kid went out there, and it was on him. And he made every play. And the Suns are not a bad team. The Suns are going to win the next game and get in as the 8th seed and have to go against OKC, but that's all right. This was a terrific game. Portland, look, you mentioned this yesterday. I'll give you credit. They came back from something that could have scarred
I'm going to go to that.
their whole season.
I'm going to go to that.
Chauncey Billups.
I'm going to go to that.
Losing their coach and a guy who's a presence. And, I know and like Chauncey. We went over all this at the time. But they responded. They finished better than 500. They have a star. No, they can't get more than a game, I don't think, off of San Antonio.
It smells like a sweep.
I'll tell you what.
It does. It smells like a sweep.
This kid's worth watching.
Yeah. So are you saying that the Wizards trading him, it's because they couldn't use somebody who could get 41, 12, and 7 on the road in a play-in game? They couldn't use him to break the streak at the end of the season where they lost 26 of the last 27. They traded him because he might want to win.
Yeah.
And they don't want to win.
Yeah.
So let me step back for a second. We are talking about two teams that could make the playoffs. Portland is in, Charlotte could be in. That haven't been in the real playoffs in a long time. 10 years for Charlotte and 5 years for Portland. We are talking about coaches here that nobody knows.
Yeah.
Tiago Splitter.
You knew it was a player.
Tiago Splitter walks into a situation because the coach, Chauncey Billups, was removed because he was accused of being part of a mob-run betting scheme, and he is awaiting trial. Tiago Splitter finishes 42 and 39, their best record in 5 years.
Amazing.
Charles Lee is in his second year at Charlotte. I don't know anything about Charles Lee. He won 19 games last year. He won 44 games this year. If he walked in here right now with a T-shirt that said, "I am Charles Lee," I wouldn't know. But these guys deserve a tremendous amount of credit.
Tony, they do. And both those teams do. And by the way, I'll just test you. You want to tell me the coach of the Phoenix Suns?
I can't.
Okay, the coach of the Phoenix Suns got that team to play after saying bye-bye to Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a bye-bye
Devin Booker is still there, and a bunch of other guys who played their roles really well. But Phoenix, I got Phoenix still getting in. That had to be a crushing loss for them last night. And by the way, to see to see Dame Lillard step off the bench and he's hugging.
Can I ask you a question?
Avijay.
Can I ask you a question? In October, if I had said to you, what are the odds that by April, and it's possible, Portland is in and Charlotte could be in, that parlay would make the play. It's 300 to 1. Yeah. It's 500 to 1.
I want that
it's never going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Let's move to hockey. Fans in Columbus chanted one more year at Alex Ovechkin as he played what could have been his final game last night, notching an assist in the Capitals' 2-1 win over the Blue Jackets. The loss led Columbus's 71-year-old interim head coach, Rick Bowness, to go off on his own team, saying, quote, "I don't know if I'm back, but if I'm back, I'm changing this culture. These guys, they don't care. Losing is not important enough to them. It doesn't bother them," close quote. Ouch.
Yeah.
Tone, does a more intriguing headline involve Ovi's possible farewell or the Bonus rant?
Okay. I live in Washington, D.C. I have watched Alexander Ovechkin's entire career. Yeah. As a newspaper reporter, if there is such a thing anymore, if he retires, that's the headline. Because he's the greatest goal scorer of all time. But last night, he gave an indication that he wasn't going to retire, and he said he wasn't sure. And he said, "I hope it's not my last game. I don't know exactly how it's going to happen, so we'll see." So that opens the door for me to go to option B, which is Mr. Bonus and what he said, where he just had no regard whatsoever
Killed his team.
for his team. He did.
Killed it.
He's 71 years old, so I automatically like him. He has been, as an assistant or a head coach, on an NHL bench more than 3,000 times. He's been around in this league. If he says my team has quit and shows nothing and I'm going to change everything here if I'm here, I think you have to take that seriously. Now, he's an interim coach. And it may be,
he doesn't even know if he's coming back.
It may be that he's not there. And in fact, I think it will be that he's not there because if there was a transfer portal in that league, every single member of the Columbus team would sign up for the transfer portal. Everyone would do it.
I'm going to go to something with Ovi. Because I sometimes live here, but a long time, and I've seen his entire career like you.
Yeah.
But I got something I can relate to this. I see Patrick Kane, after winning 3 Stanley Cups, and being, as far as I'm concerned, yes, above Robert Marvin Hull, the greatest Blackhawk of all time. He's in a Red Wings uniform.
You don't want that.
No, but it can happen.
What?
And so everybody decided, except me, that he should keep playing good, and he's keep playing. Ovi can't defend. Right. It's not his thing anymore. He can score goals.
30 goals.
I know, but do you really think? Do you know that the Capitals want him back, or could you see Ovechkin in a Pittsburgh uniform next year?
I could not see that, and I assume the Capitals want him back because he is a great draw. He is a great draw, and he is great for hockey. He's the all-time leading goal scorer.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that they want him back. Can I just read you this one quote from Bonus? He says, because they've sort of fallen down. They only won 3 of their last 13, and they lost 6 in a row at home. He said, the pressure of making the playoffs caused the team to wilt. Because it got tough, because it got hard, everything is good as long as it's going their way. Boom. This is like the Tennessee basketball coach.
Worse.
Let's take a break. Coming up, is the Mets' 7-game slide temporary or something worth worrying about? We're going to ask Jeff Passan.
We'll also ask him about yet another big deal being given out to a player who's played a handful of games. So you know what? You know why else the league is not going to suspend Ball? They don't count that game. How do you suspend somebody for doing something in a game your own damn league says
game.
Didn't exist?
It doesn't really exist.
It's not a regular season game. Right. It's not a playoff.
We've got baseball questions for our great friend, ESPN senior MLB, a lot of initials there, Wilbon, senior MLB insider Jeff Passan. The Mets, who are the team of my youth, not anymore. I root for the Nats, but they are the team of my youth, and Wilbon won't let me forget it.
Yeah.
The Mets have lost 7 straight, and they face Shohei tonight. Does this slide feel temporary to you, or is there real cause for concern with the New York Metropolitan Baseball Club?
I think there's some cause for concern right now. Now, mind you, Tony, this is happening when Juan Soto's on the injured list. He is their best player. He's paid $765 million over 15 years to help be the anchor for that offense. But beyond him, Francisco Lindor has gotten off to a terrible start. The guys who they brought in this offseason, whether it's Jorge Polanco, Marcus Semien, Bo Bichette, all off to terrible starts. So it's not like the Mets offense is going to be this bad all year long. And there are some bright spots. Nolan McLean's been fantastic so far. Their bullpen's been pretty solid, but you can't dig yourself too big of a hole. Here's the thing. We're 18 games into the 2026 season. This would be the equivalent of an NFL team's fan base being terrified after 1, maybe 2 games. So there is time for the Mets to rescue themselves, because let's not forget, they were 45-24 last year, had the best record in Major League Baseball through 69 games, and wound up not making the playoffs. So just as a hot start is not a guarantee for a playoff berth, a bad beginning is not a guarantee for doom come October.
All right, enough of the Mets. Let's get to some Central Divisions talk. Jeff, you sat down with Tarek Skubal and Paul Skeens for your podcast. If we set aside the injured nature of every Cubs pitcher, how do you feel about starting pitching in general? Because I am thinking it's at a crisis point all the time, but you're closer to this. How do you feel about the state of starting pitching?
I think starting pitching, just in terms of stuff, Mike, is better than it has ever been before. And you see a guy like Skeens, who has 7 different elite pitches, and a guy like Skubal or a guy like Nolan McLean, who can go out there and throw 5, 6 pitches all at top tier levels. The issue with starting pitching to me is the lowering of expectations out of fear from organizations that worry that these guys are going to get hurt. And there was one point in the podcast where we had a conversation about Tarek Skubal last year having the single best pitch game I saw all year long. 9 innings, 2 hits, no walks, 13 strikeouts. Last pitch was 102.6. And Paul Skeens is sitting there and he's like, I have one complete game. It went 8 innings and I lost 1-0. And he was lamenting this. And you've got this 6'6", 260-pound absolute monster who threw complete games in college. and hasn't been allowed to do so in the big leagues because the Pittsburgh Pirates understandably want to protect his arm. And yet guys keep getting hurt. Year after year, week after week, day after day, there is nothing that they figured out to keep them healthy. So why limit them? That's the question that I ask every team. Why limit these guys who are capable of doing more? And frankly, none of them has a particularly good answer.
What a stunning development, right?
Yeah, well, this is your issue.
It is. I'm going to die on this hill.
I understand.
Kevin McGonigal of the Tigers became the latest rookie to sign a big money deal today, 8 years, $150 million. Is this simply because teams, which used to want guys to prove it, want to now get guys on the cheap before they can get a 15-year, $700 million contract after they prove themselves?
It's that, Mike, but on top of that, it's knowledge. And what I mean by that is the amount of data that teams have on players now, not just going back to, in Kevin McGonigal's case, that 3-week sample in the big leagues, but going back through the minor leagues, even going back to amateur times, whether you're in college or high school, everything you do is tracked. And so teams can see, is this something, whether it's quality of contact or exit velocity, that's been consistent year over year? Is the walk rate something that might just be a flash in the pan? Or no, we know now for sure if a guy has a good eye. So this is a function, I think, as much as anything, of teams believing that they know what they have when players are in the minor leagues. And because of that, they are much more willing to give out the kinds of contracts you used to see only in free agency. Like if a guy signed before he was getting to the big leagues, which is something that's only been happening in the last 10 to 15 years, he was doing so for absolute pennies on the dollar. But Kevin McGonigal getting $150 million guaranteed and still being able to go back out into free agency before his 30th birthday, it's players trying to get the best of both worlds.
We will get you out of here on this. Padres closer Mason Miller has not allowed a run, Wilbon, since last August 5th.
That's a while.
Not in the regular season, not in the postseason, not even in the World Baseball Classic. What are we seeing from this guy right now?
We are seeing the unholy child of Goose Gossage and Craig Kimbrell, a guy who's throwing consistently over 100 miles per hour with an absolute bastard of a slider. And Mason Miller is the modern archetypal relief pitcher. He throws really hard, he throws it over the plate, and when he does, he says to hitters, hey, come on, try and hit this. And you know what? They can't. 1 hit allowed in 8 1/3 innings this year, 20 strikeouts, which is more than almost a third of qualified starting pitchers right now. Mason Miller is the business, and everyone is here just to watch him do it.
That's a wow. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, fellas. Appreciate you having me.
Let's take one last break. Still to come. Will the Sixers win without Joel Embiid tonight?
You're picking on Joel already. We can't even get through a whole show. The Warriors' right to put Steph on a minutes restriction tonight.
In a play-in game. Come on.
What?
Come on. By the way, Jeff's podcast is called Sources Tell Jeff Passan. That's good. That's a good name.
We like Sources Said.